and he's a well-respected dentist in the world of dentistry. It's James Goolnik.
So welcome. Thank you, Sam. It's been an honour to be invited here, and thank you for the PHC. I've learned a lot today, actually, and I'm just going to share with you today a journey that I've had. But before we start, I had a question, because there's some amazing minds in the room here, and I just had a question for you, just if you could get this off from me. It was, do you know the number one reason a 5-year-old is admitted to hospital in the UK? Tooth decay. How about 6-year-olds? 7-year-old? 8-year-old? 9-year-old? It's horrific that between the ages of 5 and 9, the number one reason children in this country are taken into hospital is to have their teeth taken out from dental disease, and it's 100% preventable. And I just think that is crazy in this day of age. So as you heard, my name is James Goolnik. I'm a dentist. I've been practicing for 27 years. So I've been watching the journeys of my patients and realizing that we need to do something different to change things, because we can't just carry on the same way we're doing it. Because enamel is the hardest substance in our bodies, and we don't get it replaced. Unlike lots of other tissues in their bodies, they're being replaced, but the enamel is not being replaced, and we are damaging it with sugar. And I'm not going to go through all the slides. There's been so much research and papers gone and quotes, and I'm going to send some at the end. But just basically saying that when we're eating our sugar, we have bacteria in our mouth, and some people have bacteria that cause tooth decay, and some people have bacteria that cause gum disease. But what happens is those bacteria eat the sugar that we're putting into our bodies, and it produces acids, and the acids burn holes in our teeth, which is then rotting our teeth. And it's 100% preventable. So we need to do something about it. So I think dentists, as Sam was saying, dentists are hugely under-resourced. We're not used at all. I was very shocked when I go around the country talking about this. I usually am finding I'm the only dentist talking about it, and I think this is probably what the PHC was 4 or 5 years ago, as no one was talking about this thing. And I think really we need to get the harness of the dentists. And we've got 40,000 dentists in the UK, and we've got 111,000 dental care professionals. And I think there's a couple of hygienists in the room. Can you hands up, any hygienists and dentists? Yay, we've got a few. Welcome. Thank you for coming. I've got another question for you. Just put hands up, not everyone in the room, but if you've got teeth. Yeah, just keep your hands up, and just keep the hands up if you'd like to keep them for the rest of your life. No one dropped them. Somebody put the second hand up as well, so that's good. So we've got the right audience for them. So the problem I have is that being a parent of 3 children, I'm horrified about all the sugar that's pushed on them. I'm constantly trying to fend off the sugar. So, for example, when my daughter was 2, I took her to a hairdresser, and she was so excited to have her first haircut. Just like Mummy, she's a big girl, she's going to have her first haircut. Unlike Daddy, who doesn't really go that often because he doesn't need to. But she was so excited. She goes to the hairdresser, sits there, and is really still. And I hadn't seen a child so still for so long. It was like 10 minutes going around doing all the rest. She's so proud, and she jumped back and ran up to me. Yeah, it's great, it's great. And then guess what happened? Can anyone guess what happened? Yeah. So the hairdresser got out underneath this huge jar of lollipops, and the lollipops were bigger than her, and they were leaning down. I was going, no! And it's like slow motion. I was running towards them to try and get that, to actually grab those lollipops. And I managed to intervene, you'll be pleased to hear, and said to them, have you thought about this, what you're doing? Because you're giving them something that in 2 minutes is going to be a huge sugar rush, and then an hour later, they're never going to remember anything about your hairdressing salon. They're not going to remember anything about the lollipop. You're not advertising anything. You are just giving them sugar. And it is wrong. And it is not a reward. So what I thought is, actually, how about if you gave them a certificate? And you could just design a lovely certificate for your hairdressing salon. You could put a lock of their hair. And at the end, you give them to them at the end. And then they go home and put it on the wall. And probably for the next 10 years, it'll be on that wall, because that was their first haircut. It cost probably less than a lollipop, and it would be a long-lasting success. So that's what I'm trying to work on at the moment. So I'm sure lots of you know different sugar pushers. So this is what happens. So this is me. Email address if you want to contact me throughout this, and I'm going to be here for the next 2 days. But we've got to tackle the sugar pushers out there. because there are lots of them. So, for example, birthdays at schools, 23 children in the class, they bring in cakes for every single birthday. That's nearly every week there's cakes coming in. Can you think of other examples? There's lots and lots. I'm sure none of the GPs in the room do this, but some doctors, when you have an injection, sugar cube. Is that the right message to be giving them? And then look at all that. Grandparents, I know they're doing their best. They only see them rarely, but sugar. Why is it always sugar? Why is Easter egg, chocolate eggs? Why is there sugar everywhere? There must be a better way. And I was thinking more and more about rewards, and why do we reward people with food and sugar? Because that is not the right way to reward people. So that's why I thought there must be a better way. And part of my journey was, okay, as a dentist, I see the damage that sugar does every single day, and I'm struggling, and I don't want to be seeing people every 6 months and just filling holes, because I really don't want to do that. I've been doing it for 27 years, and I thought there is a better way. So we sit down and we have conversations and say, I don't want to be doing a filling for you, you don't want a filling for you, so how can we stop this cycle? And starting to have the conversation about the carbs, starting to discuss about nutrition, and they're actually very engaged. And the most engaged ones are the new parents, because they actually want to do better. They've been there and they don't want to come to the dentist. They can be afraid of coming to the dentist. They think, well, isn't there a better way? I don't want to have an injection. I don't want to have big dental bills. I don't want to spend an hour in your chair. I like seeing you, and I want to see there for cosmetic work. I want to be preventive work, but I don't want to have fillings all the time. So that's why I thought, okay, we need to do something about it. So I've set up a charity, and you're going to see a few people in the mirror. These are some of the sugar pushers that you might know about. And I've got the domain sugarpusher.org, and I'm going to ask you later to start putting out all the different sugar pushers that come across in our lives and how we can actually communicate better with them and say, okay, there is a better way. You may have to think slightly out of the box, but there is a better way to do this. You don't need to keep pushing sugar on everybody. So there's some people in the room, you might recognize some of them that helped me, because as a dentist, I know a little bit about nutrition, and as we know, after 5 years of qualifying, all our knowledge is out the window anyway, because things have changed, and we've heard that from other speakers. But I'm looking at actually what can we do to make a bigger difference. So I've got a team of nutritionists. I've got a couple of doctors. One of them is in the room. Joanne, thank you. You're in the picture there, hey, in the front row. We've got Giancarlo, who's you're going to be hearing from later. I'm Giancarlo's warm-up act, in case you didn't realize, for later on this afternoon. And we're looking at psychologists as well. We've got Simon, who's a psychologist, and lots of dentists on board to say, let's look at all the things that you guys have been talking about over this today and say, how can we make a bigger change? How can we get more people to engage with it? Because there must be a better way. Everyone wants recognition in some sort of way, but it doesn't have to be food and it doesn't have to be sugar. So the plan is to go into schools. So what we've done first, the first phase, is going into all the schools and nurseries. So I need help from you guys. We've produced a review, which is all the psychologists have looked at it, the doctors have looked at it, the dentists have looked at it. It's an online review, and you send it to your school for them to look at what they're doing at the moment to reward their children for good behavior and good performance. Because there's some schools doing amazing things out there. Some schools are actually great things, like birthdays, for example. I heard what a great idea. They give balloons. So what happens is when it's somebody's birthday, every child brings in a balloon. So at the end of that day, that child's got 25 different balloons, and they feel really special because people come up to them. There's the excitement of having a balloon there. It's different. We don't need to bring in cakes. We don't have to have cake sales. We don't have to do all these different things that we're doing at the moment because it's not working. It's killing our children, as you're finding out, and it's killing their teeth as well. So we need to do something a little bit about it. So we've got a rewards review that goes into all the schools in the UK. It's going out next week. We've already had 50 schools fill it in to look at what they're currently doing at the moment and sharing good practice. So what works at the moment with schools, and then our team is going to produce a bespoke report to them to say, okay, this is what you're doing that's working, but these are the other things that other schools are doing. Have you thought about breakfast clubs? What are you doing in your breakfast club? What about vending machines? All the different points through the school day and the nursery day when our children are attacked by sugar, and how we can get rid of it because we don't need to do it. So that's the first stage. The second stage is a quiz. Some of you already filled the quiz out already. It's a fun way for us to think about where the hidden sugar is in our daily lives. So we've got 2 quizzes. We've got one for children and one for adults. I'd love you to go on to, it's sugarquiz.org. I'd love you to go on to it, fill in the quiz, and actually see where it's, because it's very surprising. I mean, lots of us know about sugar in ketchup and things like that, but for example, only 6 months ago, I realized that my healthy sushi lunch wasn't actually as healthy as I thought it was. It's obviously the white rice that we talked about, but it's all soaked in mirin, Japanese rice wine. I didn't realize about it. I thought I was educated about nutrition, but like you, I'm on a journey, and I'm picking things up as we go along. So things like this little quiz that's something fun and free for people to engage with, I'd love you to engage with it. Send it out to your patients, get them to think about it a little bit more, and think about sugar and how we can actually do something more about them. So the last thing we're going to do is we're going into homes, and we're looking at replacing sugar and looking at ways that they can have non-added sugar. I mean, we've talked about it throughout today about the different things you can do to replace it. We've killed bananas today. I don't think anyone's going to have another banana after all of that. So looking at different things we can do at homes, and we've got a campaign called the Sweet Sweeper campaign. So you basically go into your house and clear out all the stuff that's got added sugar that you didn't realize, pile it all up, hashtag Sweet Sweeper, take a photograph, and then get rid of it. And we were trying to think about, like you, about how we're going to get rid of this. Do you just go for a binge and have all the sugar in one go and get rid of it? Do you give it to the homeless, which we've already agreed that is not a good idea? So it's just basically binning it and starting again. And it's, as we talked about, and the last speaker talked about as well, was about preparation, is to say, okay, if I'm going to do this, how am I going to do it first? I'm going to get the whole family involved, not just me, and actually looking at clearing out the house with a sweet sweeper and start getting healthier things in and looking at what we're eating. Because most of the people, and probably not in this room, are not looking at nutrition labels. They don't understand things. There's so many different diets out there. There's so many different advice. It's like, okay, what do I do? Do I do this? Is it low carb last time, high carb? It's low fat, high fat, no salt, high salt? What do I do? And they just give up. And we want to make it easy for them to say, okay, this is one way of doing it. Try this. And the recent research has showed that actually after 6 days of cutting down on added sugar, your palate acclimatizes and it tastes different. So if you get people through the 6 days and then they have their Diet Coke and suddenly go, wow, that tastes disgusting. That's what we want to get to them. We want to get to them the aha moment so they realize it and then just keep going through to it. That's one campaign we want to do as well, and we're going to get your help with as well. So I'd love to get as much involvement with the PHC as possible. It's a registered charity. We're looking at trying to make a difference to say, how do we reward our children? Eventually, we're going to go into adults and actually look at what they're doing as well and seeing how we can change to make a difference, to make people think more. So it's all about education and making a change. So if you don't mind going onto the website, have a look, come and say hello to me. I'm going to be here for the next couple of days. I'd love to have a conversation. I'm happy to talk about teeth. There's been loads of questions about teeth, but I want to get people to think about what we're doing to our children and how we are poisoning them at the moment. So thank you.